Let's bring in Republican Florida Senator Marco Rubio. He joins us from down in Miami. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of Jeff Flake saying that, if we become the party of Roy Moore and Donald Trump, we're toast?
Well, first, those are two different people.
They
and
are.
Second of all, I mean, obviously, Jeff feels very strongly, and I think he's made his feelings known. I don't think he said anything on a hot mic that he hasn't kind of implied or said directly in his other speeches. Look, I think we have a fundamental challenge in understanding, how to bring together a party for the future that is a majority coalition to govern this country. And part of it has to be one of the things that Donald Trump really woke up in his campaign, and that is addressing working people across this country. Some of the press like to say white working class. It's working class of all backgrounds who feel like they've been ignored and disrespected by leaders in both parties for the better part of 25 or 30 years. I mean, these are the people that make too much money to qualify for government assistance, but not enough money to afford many of the things that modern life requires of us. And so they feel left behind, and their values, they feel disrespected in their values, and the result is they got angry, and they've let themselves be known in the ballot box. We have to be a voice for them, and at the same time, we have to stand by our principles of limited government and free enterprise and a strong national defense. And so that's the party we need to be working towards, and within that coalition, there's room for a lot of different views and a lot of different people. But one of the most important things we have to confront in tax reform is, what are we going to do for the working people in this country? Because there's a lot going on there for companies and big corporations and multinationals, and hopefully for small businesses. And none of that is bad. We need that for growth, but we also have to take care of working people that are making $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 a year and are struggling with the cost of raising their families and so forth.
Right. I see you segue. We'll finish up on your tax reform talk. We'll come back to this. But just on this plan right now, what are you looking to add to it, or what do you see your responsibility to getting a vote and having this pass?
Well, for me, the one area I'm really focused on is on the child tax credit. And it's not a welfare program, as some people like to accuse it of. You don't get it if you're not working. For almost half of Americans, their primary, if not sole, tax liability is payroll tax. I want to make this apply up to the amount of payroll tax. So if someone's out there making $35,000 or $40,000 a year, for example, a single mother who's working as a home health aide trying to raise 3 kids, if it's not refundable, then she's not really going to see much of an increase in her tax cut, which she needs to raise her family. Now, again, she doesn't get it unless she's working, and she can only get up to the amount that she paid in payroll tax. But we need to encourage work. We cannot be a country where you're better off not working and having 3 kids because of the government programs than a country where for $35,000 or $40,000 a year, you end up losing money. It's not, the refundability part is not in there now. It has to be in there in order for this to be truly effective. We need to reward work, and we need to take care of people that are working really hard and trying to get ahead to keep more of their own money, as opposed to sending it to Washington so Washington can spend it on their behalf.
That's great. I have some friends that say they want to work, but it doesn't really pay off, because when you pay for childcare for the kids, they're spending more on childcare than they are getting in their paycheck. So I think that's great. What do you think the folks of Florida, or folks you represent Florida and the people there, what do they think about Senator Flake and his comments? Do you think they care? Do they still support the president?
No.
What do you hear?
Yeah, I don't. Well, look, I respect Jeff, and he has his opinion. He's a friend of mine, and we work together on a lot of issues, and he's truly a principled conservative guy. But, this is the stuff they talk about, and I don't mean to criticize you guys. I'm not saying you in particular, but this is the stuff they focus on in New York studios every morning. But people this morning got up and went to work. And I think many people feel like a lot of what's going on in Washington is just being exaggerated. They may not agree with every tweet the president puts out or every word he says, but they also see how everything he does elicits kind of this overreaction on the part of some in the media, or, it seems almost like we've become a country where everybody wakes up in the morning and tries to figure out, what should I be outraged about today?
But, Senator, you know that if you've got a sitting senator from Arizona who's taken a shot at the man who is the leader of the party, that is news. But let me ask you the question this way, to borrow Jeff Flake's expression: if the Republicans in the Congress don't pass some sort of tax reform, you are toast, aren't you?
Well, I think we have to pass something, because that's what we ran on. Look, this is the party of people like myself and others who ran saying, if you elect us, we are going to do everything we can to repeal and replace Obamacare. That has not happened yet. We're going to fix the tax code if that doesn't happen. And the third thing is obviously that we're going to rebuild our national security and we're going to deal with some of the issues like regulations. Now, on the regulatory front, progress has been made. I think people will be very pleased that how we're now starting to really work through a lot of the judges, the judiciary, the third branch of government, getting people in there that understand the proper role of the courts. That's positive progress.
You got 9 of them in.
Right. Well, no, more than 9 now. I mean, we keep rolling through all these district and circuit court judges around the country. Right. So by the end of the year, we'll have made a substantial dent in the number of vacancies that are being filled by good jurists that are going to be there in many cases 20, 30 years. But I do think tax reform is important, but not just for the Republican Party. Elections come and go for the country. We need to be a country where our economy is growing again and not just creating jobs, but jobs that pay more. And I would say that if we don't get tax reform done, then those out there who are looking to invest or grow their businesses are going to lose confidence. And that loss of confidence will lead to less job creation, less economic growth. And it's not the Republicans that are going to pay a price. It's the American people that are going to pay a price through a slower economy. That's the main reason why we have to get it done.
Are you surprised that Senator Al Franken will not resign after these pictures have come out?
Well, obviously, I think that's going to be taken up by the Ethics Committee, and I'll let them begin the process. I share everyone else's view on it, and that's unacceptable and clearly, something that I think has outraged a lot of people. But they're going to have an Ethics Committee investigation. I'm confident of it. I know Democrats have even called for it. And we'll wait and learn more details. And based on that, we'll see where the road leads on this thing.
But it's not like he just said something to a girl. I mean, this is when she was sleeping.
Yeah, and I don't think he's denied his behavior,
No, he hasn't. He apologized.
Which we all find to be unacceptable. And to his credit, he's owned up to it. Now the question is, what are the consequences for it? And sometimes people make decisions on what they want to do moving forward after thinking about it for a few days or a few weeks and talking about it with their family. I have no insight on what he's going to decide to do, but I do know the Ethics Committee is going to take this up, and that process could potentially reveal more or not. We'll see. Roy, and I'd like to let that work through because we may learn more about this, which actually may make it worse. I don't think you can make it better.
Roy Moore staying in, doubling down. The alleged 14-year-old was out on another network already talking in detail about their interaction. What should happen in the Roy Moore situation? You urging Jeff Sessions to go for his old job back?
Well, I don't know about the Jeff Sessions part because I think he's happy being Attorney General. Look, I think these charges are very serious. I think these accusers are very credible. And I don't think, quite frankly, that Judge Moore has done anything in the last 10 days that has helped this cause or in any way lowered some of the anxiety that's out there about it. And, in my view, and I've said this before, I think we're going to learn even more as this goes on. And even if he's elected to the Senate, I think there's going to be a process that many people in the Senate are calling for that could reveal more and be very potentially problematic for him. In fact, I guarantee it would be, given the nature of these charges. But I don't think he has said or done anything in the last 10 days that's either convincing or helpful. And I think his accusers have outlined very detailed allegations that seem very credible and are very serious.
All right. Senator from the great state of Florida, Marco Rubio, we thank you very much for joining us on your Monday of the holiday week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks for having me on.